All right. And with that, I'm excited to introduce a friend and a partner of ours to Zoom Assist, Tim Garrett. Over the past several months, Tim has played a critical role, in helping us validate and refine our strategic vision and our goals. Also leading a vital initiative, helping us to develop our newly formed management team. We had our executive team, but it was time to bring in the middle tier. And he's been working with them in order to just help cut the learning curve with them and bring them up to speed faster so that we can better serve our customers. Tim's expertise as a certified Pinnacle Business Guide, combined with his deep experience across various industries, has really impacted how we approach our growth and leadership. He sits within the San Clemente office, and he has been with us there. Just a great guy. Tim's career is marked by success in building and selling businesses, particularly action sports and outdoor industries. He's also an entrepreneur with a track record of driving growth while enabling business leaders to find balance and achieve their professional goals. Today, Tim will be leading this presentation titled Unlock the Power of Your Two-Page Strategic Vision and Execution Plan. This session is designed to help you gain a fresh perspective on your business, offering a streamlined and effective way to map out your organization's future. Tim will guide us through the process of creating that customized two-page plan, hoping to provide you clarity and focus to drive real progress towards your goals. So welcome, Tim Garrett.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Corey. I just moved to a new slide here before I get into my background and everything that we're going to go over. I love this quote from Jim Collins, and he's the author of Good to Great. We reference Jim Collins quite a bit, and the quote here is, "Greatness is not a function of circumstance. Greatness, it turns out, is largely a matter of conscious choice." So the point of the two-page business plan is to be intentional about everything you do. And all businesses have a plan. It's just how intentional is that plan and how often are you referring back to it to keep you on track. We all know what happens in the businesses, and things just start pulling you so many different directions. And if you don't have this guiding light to go back, your North Star to go back to, it's just too easy to get distracted. So today's objectives is to first give you a perspective on your business. Too often we are in the weeds and we need to get up to the treetops. And if you're not spending intentional time working on the business, then the business is just controlling you. And so with this two-page business plan, you can start controlling the business and managing that business, and everything starts to fall more in line. Now, I would love to have everyone lock in their two-page strategic vision and execution plan today. But really, today is about going through all the details of it, because it really does require a team to put together the full business plan. And that's not just to make sure they're all on the same page as you, if you are the founder, or if you're the one that's the CEO. It's not you dictating down, it's inviting in the entire team so they have some ownership in this plan as well. So the agenda is, I'll go over my background quickly. I appreciate Corey actually already gave a pretty good background there, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. We're going to look at the overview of that strategic vision execution plan. To really bring it to life, we do have to talk about people, and there's a very good talent assessment exercise, which will take a few minutes to actually get into the exercise. And then I'm going to talk about purpose. There's another exercise, but it's an overview. We don't really have time to go through it today. I'm going to talk about playbooks and perform, which are the things that are going to drive the two-page business plan into action. So we'll talk about win the week scorecard, the scoreboard, the fast rocks, and the meeting structure. So first, a little bit about me. That's my family on the right there. That's my wife, Marlo, of 32 years. And my daughter, Jessie, who just turned 28, she's been working with me over this last year. She's going back to be a family and marriage counselor, and she's been super helpful. It's surprisingly a lot of insights that come from the counseling side to help support my clients. And then that's my son, Jason, who just graduated from Colorado State, and he's next month going to be enlisting into the Navy to chase his dream of being a Navy SEAL. So that is exciting and scary at the same time for me. But the reason I talk about family is at the end of the day, this is why we kind of do what we do. It's to provide, it's to create, support the family, and it's been my kind of driving light. But as I got so into work and business, I would get distracted, and that's why I always want to pull it back to the 2-page business plan, which should include work-life balance. So with a great 2-page business plan, you will have work-life balance. So as Corey talked about, I helped start and launch an advertising agency, primarily in action sports, got to work with amazing brands like Vans Shoes and Vulcan Clothing and Quicksilver Clothing. And then we sold that business to a big group called Foot Cone and Belting. They're still around today. And then I moved over to the brand side. I went and still continued to work in the action sports world. Then I got pulled over and became a partner in a cellular company called Simple Mobile, which we were reseller of T-Mobile. And we eventually sold that to TracFone. So point of bringing that all up is it's been 30-something years of doing some stuff really well, some stuff not so well. So I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. And it was a natural evolution to me to become more of a consultant. And now I really call myself a coach. And coaching is not the idea guy. What I do now is I facilitate and I ask the right questions to try, or at least I try to ask the right questions to get people going toward their answers to their goals. And a big part of what I do is teaching as well. So that's kind of what today's about. It's a lot more of me talking, but there will be some opportunities where we can drop stuff into chat. Ultimately, we're all looking for results, and I just want to make sure as you're working your 2-page business plans, it is going to be about driving revenue. It's about reducing expenses, ultimately producing a profit. And a big, huge part of that is the culture, is the team that's going to drive you there. So that's what I'm focused on, and I want my clients to be focused on as well. So what is Pinnacle? Pinnacle is a program, we call it a business operating system. It's not the software, it's the structure of how you run your business. And we really focus in, there is a book, it's on Amazon. It's called The Path to the Pinnacle. And our focus is first with people, and then utilizing those people to really create an amazing purpose that everyone's really buying into. And then I kind of reference this, but to keep us on track, we need those playbooks, how we run our business, and then the performance. Do we have real metrics that are forward-facing to know, are we making progress, and not finding out after the fact that, hey, some things could have been fixed or changed. So ultimately, it comes down to profit, and profit is the fuel that drives everybody's business, and it's not a bad thing to be driving for profit. It's funny because I've heard the words greedy, things like that. No, it's the more profitable you are, the more special things you can do, the more hiring you can do. It is about driving profit at the end of the day. So moving to the why, we all start off with business plans. We all have intelligent people on our team. We are intelligent. We know what we're doing, but why does it go sideways? And you always hear these questions: is which way are we going? How are we getting there? Why are we going there? And as you develop a plan, and if you're not adhering to it on a daily basis, as you bring in new people, they have a vision, they have a way of doing things, and it starts to pull you off track. the competition's always at you. What worked last year is not going to work this year. What got you here today is not what's going to get you to where you ultimately want to go. And then we know market conditions, and really it could not be any crazier than it is right now as we butt up against this election and so much unknown. So more critical than ever to get everybody on the same page. And I don't know about you, but I just feel a little more relaxed when I'm seeing the arrows and everybody going in the right direction, which ultimately delivers that hyper focus to those key business drivers that get to your big vision. And if you don't have that big vision, where are you going? Why are you going there? So the tools that we use is the strategic vision execution plan, which is the focus today. Then we really can't build that out without having some time to talk about your people. So there is that exercise for the talent assessment. We're going to talk about fast rocks, the meeting structure, how you win the week. The strategy we're not going to spend a ton of time on, but I will give an overview. Ultimately, that's what differentiates you and really gets you to the next level. And then when we talk about playbooks, the two most critical is making sure you have your onboarding of both employees or your staff, your team, as well as onboarding of customers, clients. How do you acquire customers? So moving to what our 2-page business plan looks like. And we are going to have a PDF sent out to you of this entire presentation. I do highly recommend now, though, to be pulling out notes, because what I'm hoping is things will get stimulated and you're going to want to make some notes and kind of where you're going. Ultimately, you're bringing it back to a team to develop this. But when you look at the left side, we have our purpose, the why we exist. The core business, it's not to be overthought. It is really simple. I work with commercial construction companies. They are in commercial construction. Core values, and I'm going to reference core values a few times, and you know the Zoom Assist core values because they're right behind me and right behind Corey. But it's about being reliable and adaptable and dedicated at getting it down to the things that matter most. And one of the most critical things when you develop values is how does that show up in decisions and behaviors and actions. So each department can really break that down so to demonstrate exactly what your core values are and should be. Then we go up to the pinnacle, the big dream, and we do put a timeline. This is like the big, massive goal, the big, hairy, audacious goal. I'm sure you've heard of that. That is a Jim Collins line. I prefer to be talking about big, fulfilling, inspiring goal. That's what helps me wake up in the morning if I'm inspired, not a big, hairy, audacious goal, hanging over me, but something that's going to get me up early and get me focused all day long. So again, owners, CEOs may have this vision of what that is, but without having the entire team contributing and buying into it, you just don't get that same kind of synergy and momentum that everyone's searching for. So how do you break it down? Really, how do you eat the elephant? It's one bite at a time. So we start breaking it down by midterm milestones. This, and what I would say, going back up to the pinnacle, you're looking at about 7 to 10 years out. So let's say it's 10 years out. And then that midterm milestones is your 5 years out. So what has to happen? What's those, 5 to 15 things that you just know you have to hit? So instead of writing this really grandiose 5-year plan, you're just hitting the top things that you really need to get done. And then you break that down. So another bite size is we go down to the annual growth plan. We always put profit first, and then what are the other key metrics? Now, of course, you can't have profit without revenue, so that's going to be one of your key metrics. There may be some other key metrics that year that you're going to want to really look at. It could be profit by staff member, something else that really helps drive the business. Numbers do matter, and it is what's the driving force. So then we break down to the goals, and the annual goals should never be more than 5. And they are the big driving initiatives that are going to get you to those milestones that are going to ultimately get you to that big pinnacle, the big fulfilling, inspiring goal. So then we go to the right side, and there's the quarterly execution. So that's the next 90 days. And this is really where the magic happens, because once you have clarity on this next smaller bite size, so the due date, what that profit number is, what the revenue, any other key metrics that you really want to look at for the quarter. And then when we talk about rocks, I'm going to do a more detailed breakdown of rocks. That is the biggest things first. I know everybody's heard this, where you have the jar, and if you first fill it with sand and pebbles and water, there's no room for the rocks, which is the big goals that you have to achieve. So again, if you want to look at what a 2-page business plan does for you, having these 5 rocks for the quarter should be the only focus. I know things that come up urgent or emergencies all want to compete with this, but this is your guiding light to come back. How are we getting into our rocks? So then we talk about, how do we bring it to life? So quarterly themes, doing some fun stuff, with one client, we talked about the entire team leveling up. So the theme for that quarter is level up. How does leveling up look, not just for the individual team members, but level up in the activities that they're doing every single day? And then, is there a clear celebration and reward? Everybody wants to participate in that. The carrot that everyone is kind of looking for, lay that out in advance and deliver on it when you hit those numbers. Then the flywheel design, it's another Jim Collins reference, but it's pretty easy to understand. A flywheel, big cement wheel, trying to get it going is super challenging. But if you have 5 to 6 steps that just help you get clients, create an amazing experience, so they're giving you more business and giving you referrals. So it's this combination of, how do I get the work? How do I do the work more effectively and efficiently? And then how do we get paid and then get more clients because of the result of this flywheel? That is, in essence, what we have multiple exercises to try to break down to the flywheel. That is the core strategy. This is what makes you unique in your own way of doing things. And then we try to break that down into a very simple 1-phrase strategy. Customers first. There's something that is specific to you that you want to be hyper-focused on. It's what differentiates you. Get that into one statement. Then there's the brand promises and the KPIs. So what are you delivering, and making sure that it's really clear that you're consistently delivering every time. So instead of doing a SWOT analysis, if you look to the bottom, we do, and you can absolutely do a SWOT analysis, but what we want to look at from quarter to quarter is what trends are affecting us and what are our strengths and our weaknesses. So there can be some weaknesses that we just straight up can't overcome, and we can acknowledge those, and we provide something else, so that is not an ultimate weakness. Then there's some weaknesses we absolutely can change. It could become a rock to help fix that weakness. And then we want to play to our strengths. So that's what we put into the 2-page business plan. So that's the overview. And now we're going to kind of break it down step by step here. So as we go through, you can't really talk about the plan until you know you got the right people in the right seats. We use a thing called the talent assessment. And you can see in this graphic that in the upper right corner, you have the climbers. Those are the people who are a great cultural fit, and they're great productivity. You have real numbers that they're delivering, and that's where you want the entire team. Sometimes, and I can almost guarantee it, there's at least 10% on your staff that fall into the caveman mode, which they are not the cultural fit, people know it, and they're not the productivity fit. And those people we do got to move off of. Those are the C players, and that every day that you hold on to that C player, you're not doing them a favor. They need to go find where they can find their true purpose and be the best that they can be. You're also pulling down the rest of the culture. So those become pretty easy, A players, and that's where you want to spend all your time. Cavemen, move them out. You spend literally zero time stressing about that anymore. Then you have the two interesting concepts of the B players. So they could be a great cultural fit. And again, just because you're nice doesn't mean you're a cultural fit. It has to be in alignment with your values. So somebody who may be very dedicated in the Zoom Assist perspective, but then maybe they're not just hitting their numbers. So you as a organization have to determine what is my responsibility, what's our responsibility as an organization to set them up for success. So what metrics, and are we showing them how to get to those metrics? So you give them some time, but you don't want to you want to be able to change your environment to make them either it's going to come out that they are going to step up or they're not, and then you can move on. The cranks are a different situation, because we get quite a few cranks in the business because you see productivity. It could be a sales guys delivering all the time, and they are super difficult to work with. They're challenging. They're in their own little silos, things like that. So again, what on the cultural side that they may not be super clear? Do they understand the values and don't just understand the values, but are they understanding what decisions, behaviors, and actions look like? And you give them some time to step up into that. So those are your cranks. You also have a tendency to hold on longer, but cranks will also have a tendency to have a more negative impact on the culture and overall performance. So this is what the actual assessment looks like. And I'm going to give you guys about 3 to 5 minutes here. And it's super simple. You start with the initials of, and you can think about your top, 3 or 4, or not even top, just whoever's coming to mind. Put the initials in there. Right now, if you don't have a great value system with broken out behaviors and actions and decisions, you would just have a gut feeling. How do they fit culturally? And then how do they fit productivity wise? Are there numbers? Are they delivering on those numbers? And then go rate them. Are they the A player? Are they a B player, kind of in between, or are they a C player? And then what are those action steps and coaching plan to help bring them up to the next level? So I'll give you guys, let's call it 3 minutes.
And then I just put in chat, if anybody has any questions, now may be a good time just to throw it out there.
Yes.
While everybody else is kind of thinking about it, either, something that's been covered or just maybe that we're working through right now. But feel free, and if we need to, I can go ahead, just ask to be unmuted, and we can unmute it if you'd like to do that.
And this would be a good time to type into chat some of the things that are coming up for you. Was this assignment at first? Is this new? Is this something that you have, or have you done before? Is it challenging? And did it bring up any obvious, C players? So just chat anything that is kind of coming up for you. I see Amir.
Yeah. It would be great if there is an existing template or example with real life data to be practiced.
Yep. So yeah, so I don't have a real life one set up for right now. But one of the things I didn't, once you have the left side filled out, then you're plotting over on the right side. And this gives you a indication of how many are in that A potential, and then the breakdown between B, B, C, and C. So, Amir, what's coming up for you that is not clear or you might be struggling with?
Amir, do you want me to take you off mute? Just go ahead and hit chat.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
So there you go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me get you. Okay, no swearing. All right, there you go, Amir. Can you hear?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
First of all, thank you for your time and the valuable information you guys shared with us. My question was that, like, even though we are following this as a theory, but sometimes if there's a real data that can be used as a case study, like for example, maybe I haven't done this in real life before, even though we kind of do similar things, but like documenting it and assigning different levels and tags with every task or person is something we haven't done. So my question is, if there is any existing data that has been applied to another company or another situation, somebody really filled in the data and they assign the task, they assign categories, they assign the ratings, that can be used as a case study example. So that was my question.
Okay, good. Yeah, no problem. That is something I can share. Obviously, take out names and things like that. But yes, we can do that, and I'll follow up with Corey to get that out to you. I also see a comment from Derek saying this is gold, but I'm worried that what if we don't have A players? So yeah, that's always the concern. That is absolutely one in a business plan, in the strategic vision execution plan. That may be your number one initiative. It may be a milestone that if you, so we do have, after you get the talent assessment done, then it's really identifying who has the potential and really helping them. So who do you have on the team that if you looked at it a little bit differently, if you gave them more clarity on the values and how that shows up in actions and behaviors and decisions, and be really specific about that and coach them up into that. The numbers, this is where productivity really is hard to judge if you do not have clear metrics by position. So it could be customer service. Do you pick up at within the first 2 rings, 3 rings, whatever it might be? Do you resolve it within the 5 minutes? So there's metrics for literally everybody. And so how do you really try to push them to the next level? And then you're out hiring at all times, having that pipeline. And I did notice that hiring is a big issue, and that would be an initiative of how to get the right people on the team. So yes. Yes, exactly. So every position should have a number or multiple numbers to it, and every single position can have it. I've heard, well, yeah, this position doesn't really have it. I promise you, every position can have a number. It takes some creative thinking about what that number is and how is it driving to revenue, how is it reducing expenses to ultimately deliver on the vision. So all right, to break this thing down a little bit more, I'm going to go into an exercise right after this. We're not going to go into it in detail, but like I said, this is going to get handed out to you so you can work through it, but I'll give the overview. You can drop in your core business. I talked about the core values. And again, one emphasis I want to put on core values. So I used to think, I came from the ad agency side, so we were believing, set up beautiful values and they're aspirational, but the company and the people really couldn't deliver on those values, that is literally the worst thing you can do, because then it becomes your credibility goes out the window. The team is also not getting it. So you have to look at who you really are, and then the best of who you really are, and then how does that really show up each and every day. So it has to be innate to you, not just the individual, but to the organization. So again, I truly believe in core values as one of the major driving forces to every business plan. So just kind of take that note. We'll talk a little bit about the Pinnacle, but the Pinnacle process is, once you got a clear purpose, then it's about trying to get what that would look like in the 7 to 10 years. And it can be specific to numbers and the number of people and office locations, things like that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the midterm goals and milestones and goals. So core purpose, we're going to go through just the super top line on this right now, which is, first, on the right side when you're looking at this, it's one, it absolutely has to be inspiring to those inside the company. So trying to guess what is inspiring to them does not work. It is having good interaction with your team and what does inspire them, what gets them fired up. That could be done through surveys with your team members and really trying to understand what motivates them and where their passions are at. 2, it has to be something that could be valid 100 years from now, so it holds the test of time. And then 3, it should help you think big, expansively about what you could do but aren't doing. 4, it should also be clear about what not to do, which is just as important. And last, it's about authenticity. Is this authentic to you, to your company? If you fail on this is where things really do fall down. It's, again, don't try to make up something that just is not who you are. And again, attainable is in the eye of the beholder. I do believe in taking the ceiling off of businesses and really look as big as you possibly can. So how do we go about doing this? First, on the left side, there's examples of some of the big companies that have the big purpose statements: to solve unsolved problems innovatively. So 3M, that's kind of one of their filters. Some of our smaller clients that will just, again, more probably realistic ones is like All Star Financial: to serve and build legendary relationships. The focus is clear. It's about relationships. Do all, make a difference. How are you making a difference every day? So the exercise it is typically done over a couple sessions. So kind of how I would typically work. And again, all of this you can self-implement. You take time with your team. If you can only spend, a couple hours at a time, then take those couple hours. And it's a process of, why do we exist? And there's no judgment on it. Some people will be what you would consider way off, but it's just have them articulate the why kind of behind that. You could let it sit for a month and you come back to. So the way I typically work is get a leadership team offsite for an 8-hour session, and we would spend 2 hours on this process. And then we get into the final draft and we craft it. So it may take another 30 days and we come back and do another 8-hour session and maybe spend an hour on this. And then by the third session, another 30 days, is we have that locked and we're all feeling good about it. So don't expect this just to come popping up and it all be just amazing. You do have to spend some time. You do have to run it by the team and others, and do they get it? So what we do on what's called page 30 here is kind of the question and answers. Do you find the purpose personally inspiring? So you go through this with multiple people, and this is how you continue to work through and refine what a purpose statement should be. So that's the amount of time I'm going to spend on this. But again, you will have plenty of time to kind of go back and be looking at all this. I hit pretty clearly about how we break down to quarterly and the quarterly rocks. I'm going to walk you through our process of creating rocks. And then I just wanted to show you an example, and I know it's hard to read, but the Amazon is got a flywheel in there. So it's the lower price offerings, and then it's like that's how they're getting the people in, and they just move people through the system. So I would just really encourage you guys to be spending some time about how do you acquire a client? How does that client or customer interact with the product or the service, and what kind of customer experience is happening? Is it turning to additional work, additional business, additional repeat buying? And would they refer? Are they giving you the rating that you want? And moving forward, then how do you promote this amazing experience to start the whole flywheel over again? So that's as much time as we're going to spend on the flywheel, but Jim Collins' Good to Great's got it. We, again, in this book, the Path to the Pinnacle, we have some more detail on that as well. So playbooks. A lot of people overthink playbooks. They're not SOPs. They're not your standard operating procedure. That's the detailed, written out, depending on what industry you're in, you may have to have very, very detailed SOPs. What we're talking about with playbooks is really just how do you run your business. So using a client onboarding or the customer onboarding, what are those steps? It's more bullet point like. So we have over here, like the goal for a playbook on marketing would be generate leads for the sales function to be turned into recurring revenue clients. We're all seeking recurring revenue, something that we know we can count on month in and month out. Sales playbook, sell new monthly recurring revenue. Project playbook, complete projects on time and on budget without scope creep. Accounting playbook, create timely and accurate financial statements, management info, and tax returns. And then the client onboarding is set client expectations, establish accountability, and lay the foundation for a positive relationship. So you're always optimizing these. So you only add a step if it's enriching the process. A lot of times you're dropping steps off, so you're simplifying. So you're going through this process. What worked, what didn't work, and it should be an ongoing process, but you're not doing it every single day. You look at it on a quarterly basis or on an annual basis. Just because somebody new comes in, has a new way of doing things, that's great. Give them some time to get into your culture, do it your way, and then have a quarterly breakout to say what was working, what was not working. Do we really need to revamp this? That's probably an annual time that we're going to revamp it, but we're not changing on a daily basis. This is what drives you forward in the business. So here's an example of perform, win the week. So weekly, we want to be looking at things to know, are we getting to our monthly numbers and our quarterly numbers and our annual numbers? So marketing might be around impressions and traffic count and website inquiries. Sales is leads, proposals, jobs awarded. Operations is jobs and systems, average day to complete, days of inventory. In finance is so on, is that we continue to look at numbers that are driving the actual business. Does this all make sense? Any questions coming up for you guys here?
Again, if you want to go ahead and chat it, if you need to come off mute, just let us know.
So to get into the rocks, so we use the acronym FAST, which is frequently reviewed, ambitious, specific, and transparent. Everyone's heard of smart rocks, but really, if you just break it down, the most critical part of smart rocks is being specific. Is there a date, and is there a number that you're getting to? But where the magic happens is it frequently reviewed? So when we talk about quarterly rocks, every week we are looking at those rocks. And every month we're actually determining how much progress we made. So if month one of the quarter and we're only 10% there, how are we going to get the 90% done in the next 2 months? If we're 50% there, awesome, we're ahead of the game, and maybe that's something we can finish and move on to something else that is just as important. Ambitious is critical. It's not just attainable. We want to be able to attain, but we want to push. So is this going to push the team? Is the transparency, does everybody from receptionist to the CEO know what the critical rocks are? And a lot of people hold things tight. There's so much research that's saying, open up your books, open up what your goals are, and you get more people understanding how you're going there and why you're going there. So the way to break it down is somebody has to own it. Only one person owns it. Two people own it. No one owns it. So one person needs to be accountable for that rock. The clear due date, the title of that rock, then writing out anything that really makes it clear about what done looks like. So that's the specific part. And then what steps and when are those steps going to happen, and really who owns those steps. So just because there's a rock owner, he may have, or she may have 5 different people involved, and they all may own a step. And does one step have to be finished before the next, or can they be done simultaneously? What resources do you need for completion? So again, is this all making sense to you guys? Okay, not seeing any typing, so good. And then how do you really execute on a day-to-day basis? So we believe in a daily stand-up, but this is the one area where I would say we're the most flexible. But the weekly meeting, the tactical meeting, is an absolute must. So a typical example is I like to start Mondays. It can be Tuesdays if people are vacationing on the Mondays. But this is an immovable meeting, and it is 90 minutes, and we hold strictly to it. And I'm going to get into it a little bit more in a second. But to first touch on the stand-ups, the stand-ups are just the quick check-ins. Are we on the same page? It can be by the entire organization if it's small, or you do it by department, which is what happened yesterday, what's happening today, and what do you need to know? It takes out the communication, the talks in the hallway that may only involve 2 people, but the entire team needed to hear that. Hold it for a daily stand-up, and that can be done literally daily, can be done twice a week, 3 times a week, 1 time a week. So if it's a Monday tactical meeting that's detailed, you may want to check in, stand up at the end of the meeting. You could also, like some of the details on making it sticky is have an odd time to start, have some fun names that go with it, and be specific, need specifics of the names and numbers and customers. So moving into the tactical, this is the agenda for the tactical. So this is the driving force, both the tactical meeting and the financial rock accountability. Tactical is set the stage, 10 minutes, scorecard. Are we making progress? We're not debating stuff there. Just we're hitting the numbers, not hitting the numbers. We may be making notes about why we're not hitting numbers. We do the rock review. The to-dos are just what was discussed last week, and you said you're going to do it this next week. It shouldn't be 100 of them. It should be 3 or 4, 1 or 2 per person. And did you get it done? Didn't get it done. Does it need more conversation? We're putting it on the list. Then there's the team engagement and what's working within the team, the business development, voice the customer, what's working, what's not working there. Then we have a list. This is where you spend the time and you really decide, first assess what the issue is. And that's through a series of questions. What sometimes seems like the issue on the surface, there's probably 2 or 3 levels down that if you solve that, it solves a bunch of other issues. So it's first making sure you got clarity on that, put together a plan of action, and then you move on to the next. We prioritize our list. We always talk about the most important thing first before we move on. We don't try to bounce back and forth. And then we have clear what steps need to happen on your checkout and who owns what. And then on the financial side is each month, you looking at the monthly financials and looking at the progress you're making in account reviews. This is where you're spending probably 2 hours. So tactical meeting, 90 minutes, 2 hours on the financial meeting. by doing these meetings in this timeline with this type of agenda, it should stop other meetings that are not as necessary. The only other meetings you would need is if it's something big that you have to really break out. And we typically try to do those in quarterly offsites. So you try to typically deal with the big stuff on a quarterly level or on an annual level. So there's the there's the meeting structure. Does that all kind of make sense as well? So question for you guys, because we're kind of winding it down here, is how are you feeling about your current meeting systems? Is it you feeling like it's an A, if it's a B, C, D, or an F? Yeah, so I guess that would be the F, Derek. So you can also see why a meeting would not be productive if you don't have the 2-page business plan in place. It is the one thing that when the meetings start going off track, how do you pull them back? Is this discussion leading toward our pinnacle, to our milestones, to our annual goals, or to our rocks? If it is something of that much of importance and we did not capture it, then let's have a real conversation around that. But that's why we talk about the meeting structure with the 2-page business plan. My hope for you is that you all have plans. How do you get it down into this 2-page document? And again, I highly encourage you to involve multiple people. The basic structure that we believe in is there's typically a founder visionary, and then we really believe in a second in command that are really bouncing things back and forth of how this thing works, and let that second in command do the management. But you also have a lead of every department. So who heads up sales, marketing, operations, internal, external, finance, HR, and that's your leadership team to really contribute. So I see hiring priority and important topics get sidelined by unimportant and low yes. So if your number one issue is the hiring priority, then it's as a team, it's trying to identify really where those issues are. So asking all the right questions. Is it, do we need recruiters? Do we need somebody internally to help? Do we need a better interview process? Do we need some form of personality test? So there's so many things that you could be doing. And to your point here, Derek, it's that this is the most important thing. Figure out your playbook and then put it into practice. And it's just like that flywheel. Once you put it into practice and stay consistent with that, it builds momentum. And then all of a sudden hiring is not the issue. You will have a pipeline of people that you want to bring on, and it's going to be driving revenue and getting more people on the team. Yes, consistency and discipline. It's perfect. So this is the overview. I will open it up. So this is kind of how I work, and this is not designed to be a commercial, but of course I am for hire. So this is kind of how I work with clients, is either full engagement where I'm working with these base camps and the quarterlies and the annuals. And I have interaction with both visionary and the second in command and sometimes leadership team people. That's a full engagement. We also are adding a cohort, which is very helpful for smaller companies that want to be in with other companies. They can be similar in how they're set up, but they don't have the time to take full day sessions, 8 hours at a time, but have time for 4-hour sessions once a month, and then be able to really implement it when they get back to their office. And this is a natural accountability type of program, because each month you're kind of coming back and how are you making progress on your strategic vision execution plan? How is it being executed? How is the team going? How is the purpose going? All those things. That's kind of one of the ways I work. But all of this is on my website. There's the QR code to it. And like I said, Corey's going to be handing this thing out via either email. I think we'll have a link to it, or we'll get it to you one way or the other. You're very
Perfect.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And if you guys have any other ideas on what you would like to look at, talk about in the future, just, you know, even outside of Tim's expertise, again, happy to facilitate with the people that we work with that are within our network or my network or Tim's network that provide value to you, that help you run a better business. Perfect. Thanks for your time today, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.